Darwin Nunez. Christ, even a year on, I still can't get that song out of my head. And he's a player who I think a lot of us Liverpool fans have some confusion with this summer. Obviously, he signed in big money, £64 million last summer from Benfica. And a lot of fans are now questioning whether he fits in to Jurgen Klopp's style going into 2023 to 2024. I'm going to decipher what I feel about this and how he can actually fit in my opinion, to this Liverpool squad and where he definitely needs to improve. I'm Chris Stonadge, this is the Stonadge channel, let's get into it. So many people were very quick to label Darwin Nunez as a flop at Liverpool Football Club. Of course, this is incorrect. He scored 15 goals in 42 competitive matches for the Reds, including 9 in the Premier League, which is a rate of around 1 in 2.5. Although many people may have thought he was going to come in and bag 30, even 40 goals, I think a lot of people tempered expectations because we all knew that Darwin Nunez is a very raw specimen. I think one of the biggest issues with Darwin Nunez was that red card at the start of the season. Now, he'd just come in, he was on fire in pre-season towards the end, and then scored on his debut in the Community Shield and then in his first Premier League game against Fulham. He then hit the post against Crystal Palace before stupidly headbutting Joachim Andersen. Now that was the first stunt in what was a really sort of difficult season for Darwin Nunez. He then went and scored against Arsenal and West Ham in the Premier League, as well as goals, 2 against Southampton before the World Cup and a goal against Rangers as well. So Nunez was in a way sort of finding his feet, but at a slower pace because of that silly red card that really set him back probably a month or two in his Reds development. Not only that, the World Cup added in. So although it wasn't the greatest season for Darwin Nunez, he was definitely not a flop. Scoring 15 goals in a season, you literally cannot beat. But the biggest change in, I think, the perceptions of Liverpool fans with Darwin Nunez is the change of style we've seen since Cody Gakpo has come to the football club. Now, Gakpo signed in January for £37 million from PSV Eindhoven. Had a very slow start in a Liverpool shirt, but then people actually started to clock on how good this boy actually is. His hold-up play, his strength, his great finishing ability, and just in general how good of a footballer he is. He's so technically fantastic. Sort of alerted us to Nunez's weaknesses because he's pretty much the opposite of Nunez. He's potentially not the quickest, even though he's not slow. He's not, the dynamic footballer that Darwin Nunez is. But it has highlighted sort of the technical deficiencies with Darwin Nunez that we all knew he had, but we were able to put up with it because realistically he's chaos ball and he was really exciting to watch anyway. And yeah, Liverpool fans have sort of turned to Gakpo in a way that they weren't very warm to him to begin with and somewhat cooled off the Darwin Nunez train. And this has led to a lot of people on social media. I saw Paul Tompkins actually write and described him as a demented bank robber running down in a black and white film. And it's a very apt description of Nunez. And he is someone who is so untidy, someone who doesn't really know what he's doing, but that is still such a threat and a weapon. So I'm going to look at, what can he do to improve? So there's only one place to go here, and that's his Football Reference profile. So in the last 365 days, Darwin Nunez's FBref profile is still very good. He's in the 88th percentile for non-penalty goals, but he's in the 99th for non-penalty XG. He is a chance magnet, to put it lightly. Darwin Nunez, he always creates, and it can come out of nothing almost. But then you understand that when there's potentially the biggest opening possible, he may miss. But then out of nowhere, he could thwack in a volley from 15, 20 yards. No other player would have seen, or many other players would have taken down or dribbled wide. This is how good he is in that regard. He's had the 98th percentile for shots total as well. He's never afraid to have a shot. And the 99th percentile for non-penalty XG and expected assists. He's also in the 98th percentile for touches in the attacking penalty area, 94th for progressive carries, and 99th for progressive passes received. So there's still so much good about Darwin Nunez statistically. A lot of it is about attempts, and it shows that he's just not effective. He tries hard, he works hard, he gets himself in the positions, but he hasn't been effective in those so far. He has been wasteful. And I think we all knew this before even looking at the stats. So how does he fit into this new Liverpool 3-2-5 system? So if you're not familiar with it, which I'm sure you guys are, Liverpool have started to utilise this 3-2-5 system with 3 defenders, usually Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson, with Alexander-Arnold and Fabinho in front of them, Henderson and Gakpo in front of them, and then a front 3. Or Henderson and Elliott or Henderson and Jones in that midfield. So how does Nunez fit in? Because the wingers are often changing, are often needing to be really technically proficient, which Darwin Nunez isn't. I mean, we have to be real with ourselves. He is not that. So how does he fit into this Liverpool system? I think it's going to be a lot of work on the training field. Number one is the way that he has to perfect his touch. His touch is poor. His reading of the game is poor. You can see that he's in only the 50th percentile for interceptions and 45th for tackles out of all strikers, which it's a frustrating one really, because if he was a bit more like Firmino, shall we say, and able to read the game, say with Cody Gakpo, then we'd be able to sort of get in and be able to utilise him more. But because I don't think Jurgen Klopp realises what position he's actually best in, or what position to shove him in really, because it's great to have Nunez. I think it's weird, right? And this is turning into a bit of a discussion-y video rather than something that's particularly structured. But it's always useful to have Darwin Nunez on the pitch. But at the same time, it's really hard knowing where to squeeze him in. Because when you've got Luis Diaz and Diogo Jota, who could both play on the left, Darwin Nunez is probably coming third on that list. I'd probably say just squeeze him up to second above Jota. In a striker position, at the moment, Gakpo is number 1. Followed by Jota for me, and then Nunez. So those 3, and then you could even argue Salah could even play in that forward role too. So Nunez is second, maybe third choice in one position, and second, maybe third choice in another. So where do you fit him in? Because it's always worth squeezing him on there. It's very, very difficult. We started to see him used less and less throughout the season, especially in the latter stages. And especially in games where we went to this system, the 3-2-5, the only goal he scored in the last 10 games was against Leeds in the league in that 6-1 victory. So yeah, on the training field, he has to work on his touch, his ability to dribble, his shielding of the ball, and his reading of the game. I think that also will come with communication as well. He will be learning English still. He's still trying to learn English, which he is doing well, I've heard. So well done to Darwin for that one. I just think it would be a really, really strange move for Liverpool to let go of Darwin Nunez. A lot of people are saying, oh, we should sell him. He's not going to ever fit in. For me, he will fit in. There will be a way for him to fit in. He's that much of a diamond that there has to be a way. There might be a period, maybe this season, which is it's a huge season for him. Right? There may be a period this season where he doesn't play, potentially at the start, if he's still getting used to the system. But potentially, for me, I feel like Nunez has the ability to play on that left-hand side. And with all the rotation that we will be needing, especially, I think the Europa League could be his tournament this season. With all the rotation that Liverpool will be needing to do, it would be a foolish decision. But in the long term, where does he fit? He's 23 years old, 24 in the summer, well, later on in the summer. He's got a long time to go yet. He's still very, very raw. I've got great patience with him because I think Erling Haaland has kind of skewed what people think of younger players as. I've got great patience with him. It would be crazy for me if Liverpool sanctioned a sale. But I'll talk about the arguments of why, potentially. Number one is he is probably Liverpool's most sellable asset right now. Barring maybe Alexander-Arnold. Liverpool's most sellable asset right now is Darwin Nunez. In terms of the most expensive. You could easily get 50 to 60 million for him. For me, like right now, there'll be clubs waiting at the door to try and sign him for that amount of money because they know the ability that he's untapped and that could really influence their team's seasons. So he's a sellable asset for one, and you could get good money for him. He's also has been very expensive, so potentially look to move him on in that regard. Although his wages are not much, he's earning less than £100,000 a week, which sounds a bit mental, to be honest, as I'm scrapping around for a job for 20k a year. But I digress. So there are reasons, and I understand reasons why. The reasons for selling him aren't that he isn't good, it's that he is good and that he could potentially recoup some fee. But a lot of our fans of moan about depth. And then all of a sudden, when one player potentially hasn't had the greatest season, he still had scored 15 goals, by the way. Potentially hasn't had the greatest season, they look to try and ship him off, which I think is absolutely crazy. Darwin Nunez has so much ability, so much potential that isn't tapped in yet. If there's any man in the world who can get the most out of it, it's Jurgen Norbert Klopp. But anyway, tell me what you guys think of Darwin Nunez's situation in the comments below. I'm so interested to see. And by the way, just another quick thought. Yes, I'm in a very different location right now. I'm currently recording from home. Prep recording for my holiday. So this is one of many a video that you will see in this setup. In the next few weeks. So yeah, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, try and get us to 2K by the end of the summer. We can do it. Anyway, I've been Chris Stonadge. This is the Stonadge channel, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.